This is the Recovery Lab.
Here we dive deep into the struggles, victories, and hope that stem from recovery.
No shame, no judgment, just truth, grace, and inspiration.
Let's walk this road together.
Hello, and welcome to Recovery Lab. I'm Bryn Knox.
I'm Daniel Anderson.
And today we have Ruth Ann Rigby. Hey, Ruth Ann.
Hey, Bryn. Hey, Daniel. Studio looking really good today.
This is looking much better than I saw one of the first episodes the other day. I went back to it. And Daniel, I must say, you've made some major improvements.
Yeah.
Just 1 degree of change in the studio.
It's come a little way. Yeah.
All right. So, Ruth Ann, you've been here a few times.
No, just once.
Just once.
Yeah, this
Yep.
is
It's my second
second appearance. Yeah.
Let's talk first. How do we know each other?
You just never know how we know each other. How do we know each other, Bryn?
Well, I will say Ruth Ann gets the credit for me getting into the perfect place I was supposed to get into. She was the person that my family reached out to. And what I've always wondered, what is that like on your side of things when someone calls you and they're just having such a hard time and they have no idea what to do? Like, what is
When
that?
families reach out to me and ask for help for their loved one,
Yeah.
it's a process. And so my encouragement is I always try to meet one-on-one with families. And sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. It depends on where I am or if I'm traveling or whatever is going on. But it's important to meet with those families and get a game plan together. And sometimes you have to get a plan together very quickly. It depends on the severity of the condition of their loved one. And but I always like to sit down with families. I like to give families 3 options. And at the end of the day, the family makes the decision of where they're going to send their loved one.
I gotcha. What are a couple of the top excuses that you get, and what are your answers for those excuses? Because I'm sure you get a lot of families that sort of don't follow through because of certain things.
Well, my loved one can't miss work. My child cannot be out of school that long. My child is an all-star athlete. He can't miss school. You know, the list goes on and on and on. And at the end of the day, it's really fear. It's fear that's feeding that. And so if you can help them work through the fear and get them to the other side to get their loved one the help that they need, then you've accomplished what you need to accomplish.
When you say it's, their fear of
Their
them
fear
sending-
of making the wrong decision.
Ah, okay.
Their
So-
fear of upsetting their family member. Their fear that their family member is going to be angry with them.
Oh, that's a
know.
big one, I bet.
You know, and a lot of family members hold their family members hostage.
What do you
know,
mean?
It's their way or the highway. So you have, you can have adult children, you can have children. They can hold their family hostage, meaning they control the house
Gotcha.
and everything in it. So it's important, if you have a loved one that's struggling right now, I encourage you to go look at the condition of the house, go look at the condition of their room, their car, what they drive. And that's going to be a telltale sign of what's going on, because how many parents really go out there and inspect their kids' cars unless they suspect something's going on?
Yeah. Interesting.
So,
I never thought about it like that and think back about the condition of my environment.
what was your environment like?
Oh, tons of pizza boxes in the kitchen, trash everywhere, clothes everywhere. Just, I don't even want to think about it.
Yeah.
It was bad.
But look at you today. That's
Yeah.
the miracle.
Yeah,
That's the miracle.
it really is such a miracle.
And you've done the work to get where you are here today hosting the Recovery Lab show. That's grace.
It kind of makes me want to cry thinking about it.
It makes me cry tears of joy.
Yeah. That really is crazy to think about. Like how I remember the first time I saw you after I got out of treatment. I was working my first job out of treatment at that restaurant in Austin, and you were there eating with somebody. I was like, that's the woman who saved me.
And we tip big. We tip big on people we know and love.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So speaking of miracles, you just got 28 years in March.
Yes. One day at a time. As an old timer told me a couple of weeks ago, I was speaking at a treatment facility's alumni weekend. And he came up to me, and God love him. I mean, he had like 50 years. Now that's some sobriety there. He says, now you just have today, Ruth Ann. I said, yes, sir, I do. And so I woke up today clean and sober, and by God's grace, I'll go to bed sober today.
Yeah.
So one day at a time.
Thank God for old timers.
Oh, I love them.
I swear
I
they
love
keep
them.
us straight.
Look, when I first got sober and I went to my very first meeting out of treatment at St. James, look, everybody in there knew my parents and all kinds of stuff. And they looked at me and they said, Ruth Ann, here's your seat right here at the front by us. So they could keep their eye on me. So it's pretty cool.
It's interesting how old timers, and for anyone listening that isn't familiar, like, why are we calling these people old timers? Those are the ones who've, really been in the rooms for a while. But the more I think about it, the old time, they really are the most humble.
They are.
There's so many I've met that have been in there so long, and they truly have like bragging rights if they wanted them.
If they wanted them, but very rarely do they
They
exercise
don't do it.
that right.
Because they know better.
But, times have changed too, from our humble beginnings of when the fellowship started until what we are now. And so I think it's this generation's responsibility to share experience, strength, and hope so people know that they can get into recovery and that recovery is possible. And so people talk about it in different ways today. Just think about it. I've been thinking a lot about this because it's Mother's Day weekend. My mother has been gone for probably almost 18 years. But when she died, she had 25 years of sobriety. And that 25 years of sobriety for her was the most important thing until the day she died. And I just think, like I have her big book, and I took it with me. It has the Scooby-Doo cover on it that she put on it because she loved Scooby-Doo. So, but, I have her book. I have my book that is out of the bindings. And I really want to have my big book rebound. And several friends we have a friend in Texas. Imagine that, Daniel, Texas, that he bounds big books.
Myers?
No, it's another one. And so, like, I can put a leather cover on it. I get to pick my cover, but I haven't done that yet. But I have that. I have my mother's big book. I have my big book, and then I have this beautiful collector's item from the 40s that someone gifted that to me. And so it's pretty cool to go back and read the stories from that book.
Oh, I bet that is cool. I love stuff like that.
Yeah.
How did your mom get sober?
So my mom got sober when I turned 18, and I confronted her about her behavior. And my dad and I put her in the old doctor's hospital. That's the old St. Dominic's Behavioral Health now. So, but when my mom got sober, everything changed.
In what ways?
Oh, everything got better because I grew up with an alcoholic parent. And, my mother did not get to enjoy some parts of my life growing up because she was an alcoholic and she was drunk a good bit of my life. And so she never saw me show horses competitively. She never got to do those things. But when my mother got sober, the gifts of sobriety just rang out loud and true for us. And she became, my best friend. And, it was probably the greatest joy for me that I could be her caregiver for her in those last years of her life.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have been able to do that if I had not been sober.
So she got sober when you were 18.
Mhm.
So when did your addiction start, and how did she
She played
handle
so I got sober, and my sobriety date is March 1 of 97. And so my husband and I had only been married for a very short period of time, like 6 months. And I was brutally attacked at a gas station. And that's when my life forever changed. And because I grew up with an alcoholic parent, the switch flipped. The switch flipped in me.
Mm-hmm.
And, we did not know back then what we know today about trauma and things like that. And so I was having night terrors, headaches, you name it, I had it. And who do you go to when you don't feel well? Who do you go to?
The doctor.
The doctor. And so I would go to the doctor, but, they treated my symptoms. They treated my symptoms. And so within a period of 6 months, I was being treated 3 times a week with heavy medication. And then I added alcohol on top of that. Then in a period of 6 months, I was a full-fledged alcoholic, almost dead.
Yeah.
Weighed 90 pounds.
Oof.
Weighed 90 pounds. And so, but, I also had, when I got sober, when I got out of treatment, I had to make my recovery priority one, and I had to walk away from people I cared about because it had to be priority for me. And so I had to have a list of healthy people in your life and a list of toxic people in your life. And for me, I had to be around the healthy people,
Yeah.
or I would not have been able to stay sober.
Who were the healthy people in your life then?
My new extended family.
Mm.
I love that word extended family because they're the family of choice,
Yeah.
and I have a lot of family of choice.
Are you still close with
Oh,
them today?
absolutely. They're part of my support system.
Yeah.
They're part of my support system.
So that was all happening when you were 21-ish,
Oh, probably about 26-ish.
26-ish.
Yeah.
How did your mom respond as a sober person to your
Just like
addiction?
a female in recovery would. I mean, she was, at first she didn't know what to do. She was terrified.
Mm-hmm.
But then, we'd go hit some meetings together and all that kind of stuff. And as my mother got older, she would not take medication. I mean, her recovery was priority one.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that.
Was she an inspiration to you?
Yes, very much so.
That's awesome.
Very much so.
Well, happy early Mother's Day. And I know that.
Yeah. It's my first Mother's Day. I'm a dog mom, and I don't have any pups.
I know.
Oh, do you know how bad I want to go out and buy a pup?
I'm surprised you haven't already.
I've refrained myself from buying 2. Lord
I know.
knows. Yeah. My husband was actually over at one of our friends' house yesterday, and God love his wife. She went out there with the puppies they're selling here.
Stop.
She says, and he immediately turned on his chainsaw so he didn't have to deal with it. So eventually we'll know when the time's right.
Yeah.
But and I said this to my husband literally this morning. I said, I've always had a recovery companion,
Mm-hmm.
which was a Cocker Spaniel for me. And sometimes I had 2, sometimes I had 3. So, and now I have 0. So it kind of messes with your serenity.
I bet.
Yeah, it does for me.
I know it's been a struggle, and I'm sorry that you experienced that loss this year. And the loss of something you're so close to, it's so
Mm-hmm.
part of your just daily life.
Well, for me, like we did morning meditation together. I mean, it was just pretty cool.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, well, you're a good dog mama.
yeah, my car is named Dog Mom. You
Is
get
it?
in my car, on my screen, it says Dog Mom.
All right. Well, I want to talk about, because we hung out together yesterday. We had a good old time at Topgolf. Shout out to MK. She was our server, and she was so good. I loved her. So next time I go back, I'm definitely going to request
Oh,
her.
MK, the server that we had, not
Top.
inside, but outside.
Right. Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
she was wonderful. We had so much fun at Topgolf, but we were talking about the podcast today and what we're going to talk about. And one thing that you mentioned was the canine
Companion therapy that we have at
companion
Capstone.
therapy.
Yes.
Tell me everything
Everything as in.
about
Okay,
all
so
of it.
at Capstone Wellness, we are an adolescent young adult male program. We treat young men from 14 to 17 and then 18 to 28. And Dr. Adrian Hickman, who is our chief architect and founder of Capstone, has created a canine companion model where each young man that comes to Capstone gets an AKC registered Labrador Retriever puppy upon admission, or a Labradoodle if they have a young man that has allergies and things like that. And it's there. We try to have it there when they're admitted because it's an integral part of the programming that we have at Capstone. Because we work with a lot of kids that have trauma and attachment disorders. We treat a lot of kids that have sex addiction, gaming, and porn, just to name a few. But when you bond and you have an attachment with that canine companion, and they're responsible for that puppy. You know, they have puppy time 3 to 4 times a day. They're responsible for cleaning its kennels. They're responsible for it. So they're creating a unique relationship like I just talked about with my puppies. They're creating that with their own canine and that relationship with them. And so, you know, it becomes part of their life. And when they're discharged, it becomes their recovery companion.
Wow.
And some of the coolest stories that we hear at Capstone from the young men that have completed our program and come back for alumni reunions and things like that. But some of those pups have lasted up to being 15 and 16 years old. And they have been such a integral part of that young man's life, of where he graduated college, he got married, he had kids, and you know, and Adrian will get those calls from those young men sometimes, and they'll say, you know, he was a really good and faithful servant, you know, and that's a pretty powerful testimony to me.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
When did they start that?
Day one.
Yeah.
Day one. Our facility opened on 9/11/2001.
Oh,
No way.
Absolutely. It was our first day that we opened.
Wow.
And it was, you know, everybody can think of where they were when that happened,
Yeah.
you know. And and Adrian will tell you, he's like, oh, I may have made a bad mistake today. But, you know, what they have created is pretty unique, and we're very proud of what we do at Capstone. Slade Hickman is Adrian's son. He's our CEO and owner of Capstone. And so Adrian's able to transition, and he's finished a book that he has written that we're going to have a book launch probably in the next quarter. He's finished his book, and he's working with our families on a day-to-day basis, and he loves therapy. He loves it. He's gifted.
What's his book about?
It's about working with families in our Capstone model.
Okay.
So, and there's going to be different phases of it, I would say.
I gotcha. Okay. When does that launch?
I would say in the next third or fourth quarter.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. That sounds really good. Everything about Capstone sounds really, really like just such a great, interesting place. I love that it's staying in the family,
Yeah.
you know, with the son. What drew you to Capstone in the beginning?
I met Adrian, Dr. Hickman, at a marriage and family therapy conference up in Memphis, Tennessee, probably 16 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just in awe. I'm a dog person anyway, and then for somebody to be able to use AKC registered Labrador Retrievers puppies in their model, I was just like, I was so intrigued. But I was really intrigued that his therapist, which are our therapist, only carry 2 clients at any given time because they're doing so much family work with the family unit, and that's important.
Yeah.
And so I was like, this is crazy. And because I'd never heard of that. And then we became friends, and I went up there to see it, and it was just an extraordinary facility. Now, it's come a long way since then. We've had a lot of changes. And then one day he asked me, would I ever consider coming to work for Capstone? And, you know, when my nephew was in trouble, and this is before I even went to work there, I called him and I said, my nephew's in trouble. And I have north, south, east, and west nephews.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. Ooh. And he ran point on it. And that's what I needed.
Mm.
And so, you know, that touched my heart.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, do you ever get guys that show up there that have like a huge fear of dogs? Or
Yes.
everyone?
We have some kids that will come to us and they don't even want the dog. I mean, their parents don't want them to have it. I'm sorry, Daniel.
Good.
And probably once or twice a year this will happen. And then they will be responsible for the dog and everything. And then we have a list of people that would want a dog.
Ah.
And so just in case that happens, it doesn't happen a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can count, as long as I've been at Capstone, it's only happened like twice.
Yeah. So
So-
for the most part. So are their dogs just peeing everywhere? Because these boys just don't know how to take care of
No,
something?
we have state-of-the-art kennels at Capstone.
I bet.
So they're state-of-the-art, and we've got probably 45 kennels, I think, now.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a big responsibility. So
It's
for
a
them to take that on and take care of something other than
But we
You
also
know.
have a K-9 coordinator.
Mhm.
I mean, we have full staff down there and that help. We have a trainer that comes on campus and helps teach. We don't want them to be so consumed with training their dog
Mhm.
because it'll take away from other things.
Right. That's so cool. I wanted to ask, you mentioned about the gaming addiction
Yes.
and the porn addiction, and you get a lot of clients struggling with that. And I feel like the world of addiction has changed so much with technology,
It has.
with these things.
It's the anxious generation.
Yes, exactly. So, what advice do you have for parents that they have teenagers that game a lot, or, you know,
You have to know what your kids are doing.
yeah.
You have to know what your kids are doing. You know, Covenant Eyes is a great protector on your phone that can send your text messages and things like that to your parents. I encourage parents to know what their kids are doing, because the kids that they're really, really struggling. Like I was at a house, someone's house a couple of weeks ago, and their kids were just volatile. I mean, I was just visiting.
Mhm.
You know, I was just visiting, and the kids were volatile. And I was like, what is going on? Is everything all right? And you need to know the games that your kids are playing,
Mhm.
because some of the games that are available online go to the wrong part of the web.
What do you mean?
They go to the dark web. They go to the sick part of the web, Bryn. There's a bad part of the web
Mm-hmm.
that you don't want your kids in. And so one of the things that you can put on their devices are safety device, are things like Covenant Eyes and things like that that will let you know what your kids are doing online.
So if I'm
Because our kids are so tech savvy now.
right,
They are. You have to be up on it every single day because it changes every single day. The safety measures change every single day.
so if I see, if I see my son in there and it looks like he's playing, a football game, is it
I don't know a lot of football games that are bad.
okay?
But like Fortnite and there's some really volatile games out there
Uh-huh.
that you have to be very leery of. You just have to.
Okay. When do you think it becomes an issue, like between a kid who just likes to play games and a kid who needs to go to Capstone?
I think you have to be mindful of what the child is doing. And if you cannot get their iPads away, their laptops away, their phones away, they're not going to give them to you, then that's a telltale sign there's a problem.
Okay.
That's a telltale sign. And it's not just gaming, it's not just those things that we talked about. It's these kids that are sending pictures to each other and ruining their position in school and things like that. So you have to be very mindful of all those things that are going on that are very dangerous and can hurt our children.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And so Capstone gets a lot of kids that more so struggle with that kind of stuff than.
Well, we're one of the few facilities in the country that can treat it in adolescence. So we're one of the few.
Yeah.
So
is it more difficult to treat an adolescent than it is an adult?
It depends.
Mm.
Because you have some adults that are just as bad as adolescents.
Girl.
And that are just like adolescents.
Say it louder for the people in the back.
Don't I, Daniel? Yeah.
That's so true.
You know, I mean, you can get a 30-year-old adult that acts like a 15-year-old adolescent.
Quit talking about me.
Oh.
It's a real low blow.
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, that's a crazy question. I mean, because it can go either way.
I know.
It can go either way.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You know.
Are there a lot of 14 to 17-year-olds coming in struggling with drug addiction?
Yes.
Mm. One of the main excuses I remember hearing a lot from younger people is that they're too young to get sober. What's your best advice for anyone who thinks that? Or what do you tell them?
I encourage them to give it a try.
Yeah.
I encourage them to give it a try. You know, that's the thing. You know, because there is a different way of life.
Yeah.
But, you know, not all the young people that come to Capstone have a substance use disorder either. You know, because we treat kids that struggle with anxiety, depression, you know, and other mental health challenges.
I didn't know that.
They don't have to have a primary diagnosis of substance abuse to come to us.
Okay. So are they in the same program as someone who does struggle with that stuff?
Yes, they're just in a different track.
Okay. How long is the typical stay?
It's 90 to 96 days. It depends on when they come in. And then about halfway through the treatment process, their family, the parents will come up for a week-long family workshop. Mm-hmm. Week long.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Do a lot of families come?
Yes.
It's so important.
It's not optional. It's part of it.
Good.
I mean, because you have to help the whole family heal. And in order for the whole family to heal, you have to be present.
Right.
You know, and sometimes at the end of family week, when we're working with our families, you know, we have to access care for them, depending on what has come out during family week. And we may have to put one of those parents in treatment.
Oof.
You know.
Plot twist. Oof.
Plot twist. Tune in tomorrow.
Oh, I bet that's intense, though.
Well, but again, we're helping the whole family heal, and we have to go to any length to do that.
Yeah.
You know.
What does the aftercare program situation like with someone that goes to Capstone?
So one of the things that we did last fall is we opened up our Traction program, which is an extended care. We had a lot of parents ask us to create our own extended care, which means they can go into that program and they can stay into it up to a year if they would like. Mm-hmm. And it's like extended care, like what you and I know what extended care is.
Right.
But sometimes we refer them to another level of care if they need it, or we refer them back to their therapist that referred them to us, and they do intensive outpatient. It just depends on the situation and what's going on.
Okay. So I know that you travel a lot. You're always somewhere all the time.
Why does she think that, Daniel?
Because your life is documented well on Facebook.
Oh, okay.
This is true. This is true. What's your next trip? Where are you going? What you doing?
I'm leaving Monday, going to my favorite place in the world, Vero Beach, Florida. Wait, look, here it is. Vero Beach. It's even on my shirt.
Where is Vero Beach?
It's about 2 hours to the water.
Wait,
We're
what?
both blonde-headed. So I fly into Orlando, and I get in a car and go 2 hours to the water. Do not ask me which direction I'm going.
Oh, wow.
But it'll be on the water. And
Uh-huh.
it's Southworth and Associates ITCC 3-day conference where probably about 30 programs come together, and we present our programs to each other for like 15 to 20 minutes. And it's a really an intimate setting where we get to know each other in a much, much quicker way. And so we know those programs to refer to all over the country.
Kind of like speed dating for recovery
Yes,
places.
it
Okay.
is. It is.
At
I've
the
never heard
beach.
it quite put like, yes, at the beach. At the beach, yes. So I'm there until Thursday, and then I'm going to fly red-eye to Seattle on Thursday, and then I'll be at the National Association of Treatment Providers annual conference in Seattle.
Is there one event that you look forward to the most every year?
Oh, that's a great question.
Other than coming on the Recovery Lab?
Other than coming on the Recovery Lab, I love meeting new people.
Me too.
And we have been really able to do that this year. And that's what I've been really excited about. And to meet newcomers coming into the field of behavioral health and addiction medicine and really just uplifting them and just seeing the next generation be ready to take the baton and run with it,
Yeah.
you know. And there's some amazing people in our area here that need to come on the show, and I'm planting seeds for them to come on the show.
Please.
I'll hog time. I'll get them here one day. So, but, you know, we love the annual holiday networking luncheon and toy drive that we have at Broadmoor every year. This year it's going to be on December the 8th. That's where we bring all treatment providers and therapists and counselors and people that have boots on the ground, and we honor our own. We also honor first responders at that luncheon too, but we do toys for the community.
Okay.
We collect toys for the community, and that's been a huge, huge need. We saw a need, and we went after it. So
Love that.
that's one of the things that's really cool. I love the ITCC conferences. I have other staff members that go other parts of the country too, and it's
What's
just
ITCC?
that's the one I just talked about. That's in Vero Beach.
What's it stand for?
It's a consortium.
okay.
It's has some fancy name that I can't remember the name of it. I just have always called it ITCC Vero Beach.
Yeah, I
So,
gotcha.
short version.
Uh-huh. And so that's their main.
So they do
thing.
it 3 times a year. So we do 2 in Florida, and then we do 1 in California in February. So
We're in California.
it was in San Diego this year.
What do you love so much about Vero Beach?
The water. Yeah. Water is peace. And I love the mountains are healing for me. Like if you ask me where is my favorite place to go in the world, even with all the travels that I do, it will be Utah because I love the mountains. You know, I don't like to do a whole lot in the mountains because I'll always have something happen to me in the mountains. But that's my happy space.
Yeah.
And being at home. Yeah, home is happy for me.
Do you think you'll ever move to the mountains?
No.
Why?
I've never thought about it. I've never thought about living in the mountains.
Isn't it weird how we can describe a place as like our happy place and where we find peace, but
We've never thought about living there.
yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
We're making big discoveries here today.
Yeah, we are. I mean, I've never thought about it that way, honestly.
Well, I've been thinking about it lately. I think about like,
But like, I'm happy on my farm.
yeah, that's true.
I mean, like, I can look at water. You know, I was looking at water before I left here.
Oh, y'all have a
Oh my
great
God,
front porch.
we were having some lunch before I came, and we were. I was watching a Netflix show. It's called with Vince Vaughn. It just released today, and it's about the grandmothers, and they open this restaurant.
Nana's?
Nana's, yes. It's a great show.
Is it?
And then I go straight into Smokey and the Bandit from 1977, where it shows the Mississippi Highway Patrol 3 times, as my husband pointed out. I was like, yeah, and he told me exactly where he was when that movie was made. I was like, oh, wow, I was a kid. So, you know.
Smokey and the Bandit. I've actually never seen it.
Oh, well, look, when I was growing up and in high school, it was so funny because we didn't have cell phones when I was growing up in high school. We had radios. And my dad had a construction company, so I had a Motorola radio that would go to all his trucks. And then you had a CB radio that you could turn on a certain channel and talk to other people. And so, and we figured that out in school. And so we all got the radios and started talking to them. So, oh my, that was a long time ago. I really feel old today.
Back in the day.
Oh, yeah, back in the day. Yeah, back in the day.
Yeah, that's fun. So y'all were having lunch earlier.
Mm-hmm.
You get to stare out at your pond
Yeah.
every day from that beautiful front porch. I
Yeah.
love it out there.
Yeah.
Tell me what your day-to-day looks like as someone who travels all the time, is constantly having her phone ringing, but somehow has the time to have quiet moments at home. What does day-to-day look like for you?
Well, I mean, I wake up. I don't have an alarm clock.
You don't?
Nope. I don't have to set an alarm clock. I don't even have to set an alarm clock when I go to a different time zone. I keep my body on my time zone, if that makes sense. I don't know how I do it, but I do it.
Yeah.
And I get up every morning. I pray. I meditate. I read my meditations, and about 6:45, then I post on Facebook whatever I want to post that day. And because I think it's important to share positive, uplifting messages with people that maybe aren't having an uplifting day. That's what I hope my platforms are used for, is for good.
Mm-hmm.
And, then I start work. I mean, I'm always working, but, Mondays are pretty hectic for us because we have team calls and team meetings. And then we're, the next couple of weeks are really hectic for us because we're all on back-to-back travel.
So do you travel with other people from Capstone?
Sometimes I will. Sometimes I won't.
Okay.
Yeah.
So y'all have team meetings and stuff all day on Mondays.
Yep.
What about the rest of your week if you're not traveling?
So I will work out of the Center for Hope and Healing at Broadmoor Baptist Church that's located on Key Drive. We have about 15 counselors that work out of there, and it just gives me a space. I'm one of those people, I like to go to an office and sit and work, and sometimes I do it better there than anywhere because it's peaceful.
Yeah.
And then I can be around to help families that are struggling, and that's usually what I'm doing if I'm in town.
Okay.
Yeah. And they can come and meet me there or wherever I need to go.
Yeah. Tell me more about the Center for Hope and Healing.
That's our counseling center. That's an extension of Broadmoor Baptist Church, and it's located at 212 Key Drive. And those are providers there. I mean, they're therapists. We have therapists there that work with people in our community, people that are church members. We have a sliding scale. Some of our providers take insurance. That's under the direction of Dr. Preston Crow.
Dr. Preston Crow, you said?
Mhm.
Cool. And so that's at Broadmoor.
It's actually off-site at Broadmoor on Key Drive.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
you can look from the building and see the church.
I gotcha.
So
Well, that's a nice place to have an office then.
Yeah, I can go and share space.
Yeah.
That's the words now, Daniel. Share space.
I love it.
All right. Well, we got about 10 minutes left. What is something that we haven't talked about that you would like to talk about today?
I would like to talk about hope, and that if there's anybody struggling out there, I want them to know that they have hope and that there's always resources for them to get the help that they need no matter what. I want people to be able to always access the care and the people that they need. That's important to me. And sometimes we can do a really good job of that. Sometimes we do a really poor job of it. And I'm very proud of the Mississippi Department of Mental Health and the resources that they have put on their website to be able to help families that are struggling. Wendy Bailey and her team have worked vigorously to get that up to speed. But, our Mississippians are suffering, and we need to be able to help them get the help that they need. Just like you do at UMMC. You help our Mississippians get the help that they need.
Mm-hmm.
But I want families to know that they can reach out to me, you. There's a lot of people that stand ready to help them in their greatest time of need.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so if someone is out there struggling and they just seriously have like no money, they have insurance, but they don't really have any money, and they have a job they feel like they absolutely cannot lose, or they won't be able to pay rent the next month where they live, what do they do?
So that's something we need to sit down with them and help them come up with a game plan and help them figure that out. And that's a lot of what I do is help navigate.
Yeah.
Because they don't know how to navigate that.
But there is a way.
There is a way. It takes a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do it in 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And you just need to know that we can get those things taken care of. I went a couple of weeks ago. I think I may have shared this with you. I went up to Region 8 in Canton and met with their team. And I was impressed by the services that they have up there, the team members that they have in place. And so Region 8 takes care of Madison and Rankin County.
Mm-hmm.
And I even told that to Wendy this week when I saw her out at a conference because, they have counselors in the school systems in Madison County. I was working with a particular family that needed certain things,
Mm-hmm.
and we were trying to access care. And so we had boots on the ground trying to access care.
Yeah.
And I was able to meet people that I normally wouldn't meet. I met people with Child Protective Services and, just pretty amazing people that have boots on the ground.
Yeah. It's incredible how it's like God formed all of our hearts and all of our passions. And it's like we were each born and meant to do very certain things. And I feel like you were created for this purpose and given this real like tenacity and persistence and just, is gumption the word? I feel like it is.
Gumption.
I just said you're just bold and in a way.
Well, I fight hard. I advocate hard.
But not everyone has that in them, and you do.
Well, it's just because I care deeply.
Yeah.
And that's just me. And, if you call and ask me for something, I'm going to do it 110%.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes people don't like the answer.
Yeah.
Truth is truth. But some people don't necessarily like the answer, but you can get everything lined up for everybody and put a bow on it, and they may choose to go down a different road.
Is that frustrating? Like, how do you deal with that? I would be so annoyed.
I just pray for them because God will do for them what they cannot do for themselves, and they will circle back to another person, to another individual that can help them. Whether it's me, a pastor, a counselor, you plant seeds.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever struggle though? Like, do you ever really, like, you're doing all the things, which is a lot of things, and then they just come up with an excuse, or they just decide not to, whatever it is. Do you ever just for real just be like, well, that was a waste of time?
No one is ever a waste of my time. Another individual is never a waste of my time. Does my fire extinguisher go low? Yes.
What do you do to recharge that fire extinguisher?
Oh, it requires a lot. It has a lot of things in it.
Like what?
But I have to go and just be still and recharge and fill up my fire extinguisher. People say, what are you doing? I say, I'm filling up my fire extinguisher.
Do you get odd looks when you say that?
Oh, yeah. I get odd looks from firefighters when I say So, but, you have to believe in people. And, I just believe in people. And I think I was a person that went to treatment the hard way by a court commitment. I was a person that did not want to go to treatment. And so I'm not going to give up on a person. I'm going to fight till the bitter end until they get the help and the resources they need. You know, that's me.
It is you. And I'm just so grateful for you and for all the work that you do, not just like from a personal perspective of like what you did for me and my family. Like I don't know what we would have done without you and your boldness and the way you fought for me.
Oh, yeah.
Now
It's
you're going to
just-
make me cry. The hell?
It's
Well, you
just
know, and that's
incredible.
what we do. I mean, that's what we do at Capstones. We fight for families
Yeah.
and we advocate for families. And there was nothing I wasn't going to do for you. But here's what I want to say about you, Brian, is you have done this. You did it all on your own. You were just pointed in the right direction. And so it comes quickly and sometimes slowly. And sometimes you don't want to hear what people have to say. And sometimes you want to be hard-headed and you're in quicksand. But you are a miracle, and the miracle continues through you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for believing in me, and thanks for fighting for me and so many other people. You and your husband are incredible, and we're just so lucky to have you. And I'm grateful that you were here today. I love learning about the canine companion thing. That was really cool.
Yeah.
My husband's going to try and convince me we need another dog now. So hopefully he doesn't listen to this one.
You know, I think, you know, they teach you early on in recovery to be responsible for something.
Yeah.
You know, get a plant, get something. And so there's nothing better.
I got babies, so I don't need a puppy. I do not need a puppy.
And you got beautiful babies.
Yeah, I do.
Well, thanks for having me on today. It was, I'm always humbled and honored when you or Daniel or anybody calls. You know, if I'm available, I go.
I love it. I love it. And you inspire me to say yes more. And I don't know, you're just an inspiration. I'm glad you were here. I hope everyone has a happy Mother's Day.
Oh, happy Mother's Day. Hey, I do want to say the greatest gift you can give to yourself if you're a mom that's struggling is to get sober.
Yes. Amen, sister. I can't wait to spend the rest of Mother's Day with my kids and just being present with them. And it truly is, it's just the best. I love it so much. All right, guys. Well, until next week, we'll see you later.
We'll see you.
Bye.
David Suck will be back with us next week. Don't miss it.
Vacation King.
That's right. Bye, ladies and gentlemen.